Hello, everyone. Welcome to the stream, people. How are we all doing? How are we all doing? Hello, Jake. Hello, Casper. Reverse Hell, Beckham. Dipty. Oh, hang on. I can hear myself. There we go. Nicola, Rono, Caitlin, Jeremiah, Muzzer, Cole, Young Prince, please help. Arnav, Paige. Good to see you, Paige. Louis, good to see you, Louis. Welcome, Joel, Nicola. Lots of people here. How we doing, everyone? Welcome to the stream. Hello, Winchy. Good to see you, mate. Welcome. Hello, Kids Love F1. Good to see you, mate. Welcome, pal. You should start making videos again, mate. You should start making videos again. Thank you, Artisim, for the 79p. Also, we had a donation before I even started. Claire Wallace with a 5 Canadian. Thank you, Claire. You're far too good. I only delivered the content yet. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Welcome. Again, this is my classic Monday live stream where we talk all about the race, and I'll kind of basically go through my thoughts, and you'll see it all on the screen. And then at the end, we can have a chat. I'll jump in the comments and, try and respond to some of you. Hello, James RH. Good to see you. Gus. Bryant. Welcome, everyone. So what do we think? Did Nürburgring... I know you should never... Oh, thank you, Leaf D, for the 99 Aussie cents. Appreciate that, pal. Very kind of you. Oh, you got one out yesterday. Love that, kids. Kids Love F1. Check him out. Great channel. Great channel. Cool. So, yeah, what did we think of the race? Maybe in chat, if Josh is here. Good to see you, Josh. How you doing, mate? And Paul Harrison with a 2.99. Thank you, mate. It's far too good to me, you look. Jano, you look fabulous. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Yeah, come on. What do we think? F if you thought it was not great. W if you thought it was good. I know it's a 2 metric, so it was probably somewhere in the middle. But if you if you liked the race, put a W. If you didn't, put an F. And yes, we'll get onto that. God, Jesus, the Alex. Everyone's just commenting about Alex. Calm down, everyone. Chill out. W's pretty much consistent W's. W's galore. Fair play. Yeah, I mean, it was good. It was good. There were times it was better, than that's just F1, isn't it? It's not always going to be a madness, but good though. I enjoyed it, even though there wasn't any rain. We were hoping for a bit, weren't we? But it never came in the end, which was a bit of a shame. Hello, Jack 2206. Good to see you, mate, with the Danny Rick emojis. But anyway, right. Shall we jump into the way I always do it? I'll show the results. You'll see on screen now. Eifel Grand Prix. Oh, thank you, Delta Blue, for the $2 Up the Hulk and Danny Rick. I mean, yeah, obviously, we'll talk all about that. We'll talk all about that as we go. So we got Lewis wins, obviously, from Verstappen, Ricciardo, Perez, Sainz, Gasly, Leclerc, Hulkenberg, Grosjean, Giovinazzi. My driver of the day is Nico Hulkenberg, and unsurprisingly, L of the day. And again, for anyone who doesn't know, Alex is my favourite driver. I love Alex. I support Alex. I will always support Alex. But he took the L of the day. We'll get onto it. Hello, Clorox Bleach. Good to see you. Welcome. But we'll dive into details and all that as we go. Obviously, there were a few driver of the day suggestions. Not suggestions, just people potentially up there. Ricciardo, obviously. Perez, obviously. Gasly, obviously. Again, Gasly delivering. Gasly's quality, man. Gasly's quality. Grosjean, a little P9, decent. All right, he maybe benefited from strategy a little bit, but hang on, we've got Jake with a $5. Thank you, mate. Do you think it's time for Alex to be dropped? Imo, yes, I feel so bad. I just want him to do well. Don't worry, Jake. I will get onto that, I promise. I promise there's plenty of time because I know that's the big talking point. I know that's what everyone wants to talk about. And Tomo knows how Vettel fans feel now. It's kind of true. You know what I mean? It's kind of true. There are a lot of parallels between the situations. And King of Onyx with a 5 USD. Thank you, pal. W. You like the race? Good. Well, I'm glad to all the Americans out there that you know, because you'd have had to get up at an ungodly time, as you always do for the European races. Probably depends where in the US you are, I suppose. Russell is actually cursed right now. Feels bad, man. Thank you, Louis, for the £2. And yes, yeah, we'll get onto Russell as we go. But yeah, that's kind of just a little refresh, a little recap on what happened. So now, does Alex have the most LOTDs this season? He's got 2 now. So I think he's definitely like going to be joint most, if not most, yes. And again, listen, like what a lot of people don't seem to be able to get their head around. Because again, I'm a West Ham fan. Okay, have been since day dot. Okay, I didn't have a choice. My family forced it upon me because they're all East End, and supporting something and being critical and being objective and trying to kind of take off those rose-tinted spectacles to look at a situation is important. Now, if you've spent your whole life supporting Barcelona or I don't know, someone who's been you know what I mean? Like a consistently successful club, doesn't matter the sport, you might not be used to failures, you know what I mean? It's like when Man United fans complain now. I'm just like, yeah, but how bad do you really have it? You know what I mean? But it's all relative at the end of the day. You could say the same, like I'm a West Ham fan to a team that are in a lower division, right down the bottom of any football, you know. But whatever. Support is different to, like, I'm not just going to blindly defend every single thing Alex does because I support him, of course. And because he's struggling doesn't deter my support for him. I support him in the same way that I will always support West Ham, regardless of if we're in conference. You know what I mean? That's what it, you know, I vibe with that driver, and so I want to support him. But yeah, we'll talk about Alex as we go anyway. I'm just getting sidetracked. Thank you, Jacka, for the €5. Russell once again robbed. Georgie boy. And Winchy with the £2. Thank you, Win. You don't have to do that, mate. Honestly, you lot are all so generous. I do really appreciate it. Mr. Motivator, Tomo, you mug. Thank you for the motivation. All right, cool. So, let's jump in to the kind of, I like to make this little things as we go so you can kind of see what we're going to get into later in the race. I've kind of broken the race down into sections. I guess I suppose we should talk about qualifying first and foremost. Obviously, Valtteri, great job in qualifying from Valtteri. Can't argue. You know, Lewis P2, he had a good 0.25 on him, I think. So a great lap from Valtteri, exactly what he needed to do to kind of make a statement. Unfortunately, it didn't materialise in the race. Kind of didn't. Max P3, fair. Charles getting that Ferrari to P. That Ferrari seems to have more pace in quali, definitely, than it does in race, because that race trim car just fell down the order like crazy. As good a defender as Charles is, it just doesn't have race pace. But in quali, he was able to unlock it. Great job. And I thought, like, to be fair, like, quali, Alex got P5, just edged by Charles. I think it was, you know, he did a good job. I was quite satisfied with Alex, you know. Again, when you combine the fact that Max is once in a generation talent and is very, very used to that car, a car that is proven to be very difficult to drive, not just for Alex but for Pierre as well. You know, I think, yes, of course, if they were both in a more stable car, then you would expect that gap to be closer. But the fact that the Red Bull is notoriously tricky and catered towards Max, I think, you know, he did an alright job. Not a top amazing job. I think an amazing job would be within 0.2 or 0.3. Because to be fair, I remember as a quali last year when Alex got within, you know, about 20 thousandths of a second of Max in qualifying. But anyway, we're not talking about that. So I get sidetracked a lot when it comes to Alex, because I know I know it's the topic everyone wants to talk about, and I don't want to talk about it because obviously it's not nice, is it? It's just like any Sebastian fans out there, when people criticise Seb, it's not nice. It's not nice to have your favourite driver being dragged through the mud. But listen, it's tricky, isn't it? But anyway, right. Bottas jumped Lewis at the start, didn't he? Bottas had a good start. Obviously, he started from P1, so he didn't really jump Lewis. But Lewis did get a run on him because obviously he got a bit of a toe. But Bottas, fair play. Like after that first lap, you were like, all right, maybe this is it. Maybe this is porridge 4.12 or whatever. Which was good to see. It's what we want to see. We want to see challenging. We want to see Valtteri take it to Lewis. We all do. Like I'm more of a Lewis fan than I am a Valtteri fan, but I still want to see, because Lewis is going to win the title, of course he is. But I want to see at least a bit of a challenge. You know what I mean? But obviously it didn't really work out for Valtteri. But we'll get into that in a minute. Anyway, next. Well, obviously, look, we've got to talk about Alex's lockup. That really did him over. I did see a few people say, oh, like Red Bull pitted him early and messed him up, put him into traffic. But the state of the lockup he made, that must have seriously caused some like vibrations to that car. And so that's why they pitted him early. It must be, because that was a dirty lockup. He wasn't the only person to lock up. I was watching Nico Hulkenberg footage from the back. Loads of people were locking up going into that corner, that like left-hander. Obviously, a lot of people locked up into the first corner as well. Valtteri did, Max did. Plenty of people locked up because it's kind of, you're going downhill, so the wheel's not as loaded as it would be typically when you're hitting the brakes, and then it's more likely to lock, I think. Thank you, Jake, for the £2. Mate, you're far too kind. And yeah, so that's why they pitted him for sure. That must have been why they pitted, because that must have compromised. That must have compromised his pace. It's a shame, because obviously that then led to a chain of events that ended up him. I mean, we'll talk about the whole, did he have an engine issue or not in a minute. So he wasn't the only one to do it, but that kind of set the tone. Unfortunately, he did well not to hit anyone when he did lock up. And again, he wasn't the only person, but people were struggling under brakes. That's what I mean. Because, again, like, we'll get onto it in a bit, but there was just, like, lockups left, right, and centre. It was not good. But anyway, Charles 101. Again, I want to give credit to Charles. This is not the first race that he's really put in it, and he has to, because he's in that Ferrari, which has good quali pace, all right quali pace, but then just in the race falls back, so he has to defend, and he did an amazing job. Honestly, I think like he defended for as long as he could and did as good a job as you could possibly expect of him, holding Danny Rick behind him for as long as he did. And various other drivers at times as well. Obviously, again, when you're in a car that doesn't have the pace, he did an amazing job, and I just think Charles deserves a shout out. He really does deserve a shout out. He finished, I think it was P7? Yeah, 7. Which is a great result, to be fair, all things considered. Obviously, if it wasn't for the DNFs around him, he probably would have been a lot lower, maybe even out of the points. If Albon, Ocon, Bottas finished that race, then he's P10, you know what I mean? But Hayden, I'll get onto Daniel Ricciardo, don't you worry. We'll get onto it. I know he's not on the little list on the side, but I won't forget about Daniel. I've only got so much room here to play with. But yeah, shout out Charles. He's doing a great job this year. Charles is absolutely smashing it. He's performing above and beyond the ceiling of that Ferrari. But anyway, Bottas Bottles. Yeah, I mean, again, he locked up into turn one. He looked not comfortable. He had over a second on Lewis, and then just locked up. Big dutty lock up, going into corner one. That was Bottas's opportunity. I mean, he probably would have had to DNF later on anyway, which would have hurt even more if he DNF'd from first. But it's just, Lewis wouldn't have made that mistake, and that's the difference, you know. Lewis wouldn't have made that mistake, and it's a shame, you know. I really want to see Bottas kind of mount a challenge, but unfortunately, it's just this is what I'm like. These are professional athletes at the end of the day, and just like in any professional sport, we and we really dive into the time. You make one little mistake, that's just Valtteri putting his foot down a fraction too hard, and then he's bottled it, and he's terrible. You know what I mean? It's such fine margins, so it does feel a bit harsh to go overly in, but it's just true. You know what I mean? It's just true. So sad times, but listen, Lewis is just next level, isn't he? And you feel like Lewis maybe would have caught him anyway, but we'll never know. Right, George Russell. Let's talk about George. Obviously got punted by Kimi. Big shame that Kimi got a 10-second time penalty. Yeah, man. That was a great opportunity for George to get points. He knows it. He was gutted in the post race afterwards. He was in a decent position, and just eludes him again. Like, listen, it will come. It will definitely come. You know, obviously he needs to rely on circumstances, a few DNFs. Obviously having 5 people not finish the race gives him a significantly better chance of getting in the points. It's like Giovinazzi and Grosjean both got points. Hello, Taylor. Good to see you. So yeah, it's just a bit. It's just a shame for George, because George has definitely got it, man. I've got no doubt in my mind George has definitely got the pace to perform at the very top, for sure. And I'm sure the opportunity will come. When Mercedes will give him that opportunity, I don't know. I reckon it must be 2022 onwards, surely, because if they don't, then they might lose him. And I know it's easy to say, oh, George is being overrated, but I think it's easy to not appreciate what he's doing in that Williams. I think he's doing an amazing job. Absolutely incredible. Hello, Freddie, by the way. Good to see you, mate. But yeah, sad times for Georgie boy. Don't like to see it, but it will come. I've got faith. Right, Red Bull takes your wings. Right, I'll talk about Alex again here, and I'm not going to talk about him again after, because I'll just keep going back to it. Red Bull. Alex saw the gap, made the move stick, and then he didn't like smash it over to the left. He just kind of moved over just that fraction. Again, it's fractions. It's fractions. Hello, Josh Cooley. I'm good, thank you, mate. Fractions. Pulls over. Rear wing. Goodbye. Ciao, adios. Done. The problem is, right, and the thing is, we saw this with Pierre last year at Red Bull, is that when it's going bad and your confidence is clearly being hit and you're desperate to try and make moves and try and make, you know, things stick. We saw it Germany last year. Last time we were at Germany, when Pierre was in the Red Bull, Alex was in the Toro Rosso. Pierre went to go past Alex and just went into the back of him. It was just when it rains, it pours. And again, back then, you saw Pierre was just absolutely down and rattled. And every interview, he just looked so down. And exactly the same things happened here with Alex. Exactly the same. It's just, when it rains, it pours. You know, he's flat spotted. He's come in the pits. He's having to, and he's like, oh, he must be thinking like, oh, why has this happened again? Like, I've got myself into this fucking position again. And then he's having to cut through. And he was getting through. He was making progression. And then Kvyat, you know, makes that mistake, gets past him, and it's just. And to be honest, I thought it should have been more than a 5 second. I was surprised he only got a 5 second time. I thought that should have been at least 10. If Kimi got a 10, then I think Alex should have got a 10 as well. I don't understand why he only got a 5. Again, objectively, I want Alex to do well. I don't want him getting any penalties, but I look at that situation, you're like, why has Kimi got a 10 and Alex only got a 5? Served it, and then obviously the car gets retired. Now look, from that position, Alex would have still got top 10. I'm very, very sure of that. I don't 100%, as much as I think like Alex has had a terrible race, he's had a shocker. There's no way. I'm sorry, I don't buy that Red Bull would just retire the car because, like, he's still going to get points. Like, he was still on for points. Why? I don't understand. Like, I know it's easy to say that, oh, well, it just, because Alex was having a bad race and they retired him, or they must just be, But, like, no, come on. Kimi took Russell out, Albon didn't end Kvyat's race. Yeah, but he all but didn't he? Like, yes, he didn't technically end Kvyat's race, but essentially he did end Kvyat's race. Like, any chance of Kvyat getting points, because he probably would have got points, Kvyat, considering where everyone else was. I mean, it's okay. Alex only got 5 because but it's still firmly an incident that is Alex's fault entirely. I don't know, but anyway. I don't buy that Red Bull pitted him. Like, he might, like, there is no way. Why would they pit him just because? Oh, because he's no. That's Red Bull are not. You don't realise how much money is involved in F1. You know how much important just extra all those points are. Like, it stacks. Like, no, there's no way they pitted him because he was having a bad race. No, I don't believe that for a second. Not for a second. He retired because of an engine issue. An undisclosed engine issue. I think it's undisclosed. I don't know if they said why exactly. And again, a few cars had engine issues, or power unit issues of some kind. So I'm not really surprised. But yeah, sad times. Again, in terms of my thoughts on what should happen, I think unless Alex does massively kind of turn it around between now and the end of the year and really punch in consistent 4ths and 5ths, or like top 6s, if he's consistent top 6 rest of this year, I think maybe Red Bull will give him next year. But honestly, looking at things right now and saying that, assuming things don't change, because to be honest, as much as I'd love them to change, it's going to take a lot from him as a human in being so, like, imagine, like, everyone gives Max stick, right? Not Max, Alex stick. And same with Gasly last year, same with Vettel at the minute. Imagine being, just for a second, right? Imagine you're Alex Albon, right? You're sat at home now. You go on Twitter, you search your name, and it's just rubbish, crap, dropping, blah, 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 all that. Imagine the effects that has on someone, like, and you can say the same about like any professional athlete. The effect that must have such a and some people can handle that better than others. Like, being a good racing driver and being able to handle the intense scrutiny of Twitter is it must take a lot, and I think that contributed to why I don't think Gasly's situation would have improved at Red Bull. Do I think Albon's situation would improve at Red Bull? I'd love to say yes, but I don't think it will, because I just think he's going to take so much from him to pull himself out of that situation when all the cards seem like stacked against him. You know what I mean? So it's sad. And actually, sorry, I just saw... thank you, King of Onyx, for the $2. What about the Race Me So Hard comment? Yes, that is the last point I was going to talk about. But yeah, so I think... I think if I was in Red Bull's shoes, I'm definitely getting Perez next year, to be honest. What I think should happen, honestly, I think if you stick Alex and Pierre in both an AlphaTauri next year, I think it'll be a lot closer than you think. Because again, it's easy to say, oh, Alex is trash, he shouldn't be in F1, blah, blah, blah. Wind the clock back 12 months. Everyone was saying exactly the same thing about Pierre Gasly, and now he's in a car that he's much more comfortable and confident in. Like, I think it's short-sighted to make that statement based on what's happened, because you can't, like, everyone was so critical of Gasly really underperforming in that Red Bull. He's been way better than Alex this year. He's been way better than most people. I'm still saying Pierre Gasly's driver of the year so far. But then he was trash last year and shouldn't be in F1. Like, no. Like, I think Alex has shown absolute signs of pace and absolute signs that he has it in him, 100%. It's just all the scrutiny and all the pressure is getting to him. And it got to Pierre, and it gets to getting to Vettel, 100%. Yeah, these are just human beings at the end of the day. It's easy to look at them as like these, android creatures that, just are able to plug in and just do their thing. But they're just people like you and me. Like, at the end of the day, just because they've got money and they're in F1 doesn't devalue their humanity, you know what I mean? And everyone's got mental health, everyone's got like struggles, and everyone goes through difficult situations in their lives and their career, and to have it such in the public eye must be incredibly difficult for everyone out there. Everyone who gets critiqued, like Grosjean, like the amount of stick he gets, it's just like, it must be so tough. And to pull himself out of that situation is going to be hard. I think if I was in charge of Red Bull, and I'm not an Alex fan, like, I'll take that away from it, I'm doing everything to get Perez in for that seat next year. Hulkenberg, I've seen a lot of mentions for Nico. Nico would do a job. I think Sergio would do a better job, to be honest. I think Sergio's different gravy. Like, Hulkenberg's a very, very, very good, very, very, very solid F1 driver. But for me, Sergio's just that little bit above. The way Sergio's just been able to consistently bang in results, more consistently than Nico. I think Nico could do a great job at a Haas or an Alfa Romeo, absolutely. I definitely think he should be in F1, completely. He's definitely at the calibre. But I think I would go with Sergio. You've got two really strong drivers there in Max and Sergio. I think next year is a fantastic opportunity for Red Bull. Last year with Honda, I think Honda are really going to just chuck everything at that. Just go out with a back. If Honda could go out with a World Drivers title next year, which, listen, like, seems out of the question, but with Max Verstappen, anything could happen. And again, even if it's a constructors title, because I think Sergio's a lot more consistent than Valtteri. I think you could rely on Sergio really pushing Valtteri and Max really pushing Lewis. I think that could be a great fight next year if Sergio was in that seat. I think do that. Alex and Pierre in the same machinery, I think we'd see a much better Alex Albon next year, because he did really well in Toro Rosso. He got that promotion on merit, I think, Kvyat was okay as well, like last year, but I think Alex was better than him last year. I think Pierre's been better than Kvyat this year. Obviously, all the talk of Mazepin buying Haas or investing in Haas, maybe Kvyat goes to... This is what I'm saying. If that happens, I think they bring Kvyat to Haas, and then they have an all-Russian Haas team. I think Putin would love that. I don't think that... Kvyat's been in the sport a long time. I definitely think he's got something to offer. I don't think he's the worst option out there, but I don't think he's the best either. I would definitely have Hulkenberg over Kvyat. I'd definitely have Perez over Kvyat. I struggle to see how Kvyat's going to keep his seat for too much longer. He got hard done by this weekend, of course. It wasn't his fault. He got taken out by Alex at all, but Pierre's just had the measure of him consistently. That's my thoughts on what should happen. And then, sorry, to King of Onyx, to answer your question, what last point, the "they raced me so hard" comment. Honestly, I think, and I've said this before about all drivers, I'm not just saying this because it's Alex. I think everyone puts far too much scrutiny on what drivers are saying in the heat of the moment in a race. This is exactly what Sebastian said. This is exactly... Remember the press conference when... what was it? Lewis had said something in the heat of the race, criticising someone, and he was pulled up on it in the press conference. And then Seb was like, why are you... Like, these are stupid questions. Like, we're in the heat of the moment. We say things in the situation. I don't think it's fair, to be honest. I think it's very easy for us to sit here and criticise him for saying, "Oh, they roast me too hard," blah blah blah. But like, and you say the same about like, for me, if you're in the car and you're in like having a battle and someone's just like pushed you a bit wide and you say they've raced me too hard or whatever, right? By your estimation, right, from your perspective in your car, you shouldn't have that held against you and thrown in your face after the race. Like, if it's a post-race press conference where you have time to settle down and actually look at things like, and you say stuff like, but in the heat of the moment, that's like if you mic'd up every single football player and then just like pulled out, or when they called someone a C word, or you know what I mean. Like, I don't think that's fair. These guys are driving. They're put in there like they're driving in a sport that is not only incredibly competitive but is incredibly dangerous. And I'm not surprised that I think it's incredibly unfair to hold that against Alex and any other driver. This when our Dan ticked him. When he and listen, like we know he's got we know Dan's got a track record, right? And I ain't defending that for the slightest. But when he's said things in the heat of the moment, I remember there was one earlier this year. I think it was at Mugello or something, and people were like, "Oh, it's done to." It was like, bruv, like all these drivers say stupid stuff like in the heat of the moment. Like, you can't hold that against. I think that's so harsh. To hold it against them like that. All of them. Like, if it's a post-race press conference, right? And, like, for example, when Lewis, post-race... Minton, what are you doing? Minton's just being a pest. Post-race says, like, the FIA are against us. Like, that's after the race. You've had time to calm down. And he says something like that I just think, it's probably not true, though, is it, Lewis? Like, come on. But then, if he's saying something in the heat of the moment, like, someone's pushed him wide and he's like... I don't think you can hold that against drivers at all. I think that's an impossible standard to hold people to. Professional, like, I know they're professional racing drivers, but I think that's an impossible standard to hold them to. I really do. But anyway, right. Sorry, I've waffled on at that point far too long. That's my thought on the situation. Anyway, yeah. There you go. Lando. Yeah, obviously Lando, he was having a solid race and technical problems got in the way, didn't they? Sad to see, because it would have been good points for McLaren. I think a Racing Point have got third in the Constructors now, thanks to Nico getting the P8 and Sergio getting the P4. It feels like, I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like McLaren get quite a lot of technical issues, or just a lot of bad luck. Obviously, Lando, Carlos, multiple DNFs between the two of them. But you can say 100%. Lando saw that chair and was like, I'm doing this for the meme. He 100% saw that chair and was like, in the heat, like, he just saw it and was like, yeah, I'm sitting on this chair, man. People are going to love this online. 100%. 100%. But yeah. Soz Lando. Sad time. Minton's growling. Minton's seen a dog outside. Shall I grab Minton? Hang on. 2 secs. Bit of Minton there. Hello. Why are you growling at the dog outside, mate, eh? Look at him. Oh, you're well cute, mate. Look at you. A little bit of Minton content. Just to break up the stream today. You alright, mate? You a bit sleepy? Mwah. Good boy. Right. Perez versus Charlie. Yes, I want to talk a little bit about... There was a good little battle that they had. And again, this was a good example of like Charles. Defending really well, battling really well. I mean, he's got a much slower car than Sergio, but there was the little where Sergio overtook him before the last corner, and then Charles got him back down the straight with DRS. It was like Alex in the press conference. Oh, fuck's sake. Oh, it made me laugh. It was a good little battle. I think Charles just did an amazing job. He really like got everything out of that Ferrari package. I do actually want to like What was... I don't want to talk about... I don't, like, listen. It's rubbish seeing Seb struggle as much as he is. You've got Sebastian Vettel really struggling. Essentially, it's kind of like you've got Max, Lewis and Valtteri are in the top. And then the rest, and then the middle part has Renault, McLaren, blah, blah, blah. And it has Alex in it. But it also has Charles in it. And then the bottom section, the battling down the bottom, has Alpha, Haas, Williams, and Vettel. He's like, in terms of that gap, like objectively, the gap between Charles and Seb is as big as the gap between Max and Alex. That's not controversial to say, is it? Look at the times, look at the positions. Just, and I'm not talking about why the gap's so big, because I think the gap's big for different reasons. But I think that's fair to say, right? That's very fair to say. That gap is pretty much the same in terms of the amount of positions different, the amount of time in qualifying difference between the two of them. Now again, why is that gap so big? I think Max and Charles are both performing at the ceiling of their cars. They're both young. They're both like very, very motivated. They're very, 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 very talented. Absolute top tier. Absolute top tier, right? I think the reasons for the gaps, is there a bigger gap? Right, so is driver talent more of a reason for that gap between Max and Alex than it is between Charles and Seb? Yes, I agree. Because I think like Seb's clearly got talent and Alex has clearly got talent. But I think to say that it's Seb's talent has gone, he's still only 32. I don't think it's a talent thing with Seb. I definitely think he's still got it in him to perform at the very highest level. But the thing with Seb, what you have to appreciate is that Seb's lived his whole life in motorsport winning. Okay? He started early, karting, smashed it. Lower Formula, smashed it. In Formula 1 at, 17 when he did the test for Sauber, I think it was at Indianapolis. Smashed it. Toro Rosso, great job. Into a Red Bull seat, smashed it. Early days Ferrari was up there as well. Vettel doesn't know what it's like to not be at the very top. Like he's not had that his whole career until this last couple of seasons. Particularly this season. He doesn't know how to not win. And for Sebastian to be confronted with this situation where he's in a car that he has to be absolutely smashing it to get even just in the points. I mean, Charles, I think's, performing at the ceiling of that car, and he's scraping into the points most weekends. He's getting like 8ths, 9ths, or not at all. And I think like it must be difficult for Seb. He obviously lacks confidence in the car. He had it wasn't a spin because he kind of caught it, but again, that back end just dropping on him, that happens so often. And the thing is, like I say, it's definitely he's not in tune with the car. Seb has to take responsibility. Like he's the one driving the car. He's got to take responsibility for that. But also, Ferrari have to take we will never know. And this is the whole point I'm trying to make, right? And when I say that the gap between Charles and Seb is the same, pretty much, as the gap between Max and Alex, is that there's so many factors involved. We give Seb the benefit of the doubt. I say that Seb still got it because of what he's done, not because of what he's doing. If you took all Seb's titles away and look at those performances in isolation over the last 2 years and ignore the name Sebastian Vettel and just apply that to a random new driver, you're like, not good enough. You're just going to be. But because it's Sebastian Vettel, we give him the benefit of the doubt because of how well we know he can drive. Now, will Seb be able to get back to his best? I hope with Aston Martin, it's a new, fresh start, and they can put a car around him that he's really comfortable in. I hope that can happen. Is there a guarantee of it? No. Could maybe, like, this thing, no, we don't know. You can't say with 100% certainty that Seb hasn't lost his touch and hasn't lost his performance. But you can't say otherwise either. It's impossible. There's so many factors that go into it. So I think I just really hope that it works out for Seb, because we don't like seeing him down there. He's such a nice bloke. He's such a likeable character, and he's done so well in the sport. But also, I think Vettel fans, you've got to be prepared for the fact that, well, not the fact, you've got to be prepared for him to maybe not be at the level he once was. Because the thing is, one thing that I would say, I think the strongest argument, and again, there's no way of truly knowing for sure, but the strongest way of kind of trying to understand that Seb doesn't have the same... It's impossible for him to have the same drive and the same ambition that he did when he was young and he was winning titles in Red Bull. He was a young lad, rest of his career ahead of him, in a fantastic car that really worked for him. And he didn't have kids, he didn't have any of these other responsibilities. And I just think that now that, you know, he's much older, he's much more educated on his worldview, he's got a family now, he can't possibly have the same... No one can. It's like Kimi can't. Kimi, and everyone agrees that Kimi doesn't have the same... Like, when he just says it's a hobby, you know? Like, Kimi's 40 years old. He's 8 years older than Seb. I think Seb's 32. And we put our hands up and say, of course, Kimi's not, you know, the person he was when he won his title in 2007. Of course, he's not the person he was when he first joined with Sauber in whatever year it was. And, you know, it's been a steady kind of... Towards the end of the Ferrari years, he got that one win at USA, but he was declining off for sure. Seb was very much beating him consistently. You know, when did that happen to Kimi? It wasn't a sharp break. It was a gradual kind of thing. I think that it's impossible to know with Seb. I really hope it works out for him at Aston Martin and he hasn't lost it. But the thing is, all drivers will lose it one day, and some drivers will lose it sooner than others. Some drivers will go at the peak of their powers. Nico Rosberg, for example, he was like, yeah, I've got that one world title and I'm out. Now, he had his own reasons to do that. And these are all just human beings at the end of the day. They're just not just machines who just punch out race after race after race. Like, they have aspirations and feelings and thoughts and considerations. If you haven't watched Seb's Beyond the Grid podcast, by the way, really, really good watch. I would recommend. It's only like 45 minutes long as well, so it's not a super long podcast. That was 33. There you go. So 7 years between them. I would recommend that because he talks a lot about, you know, his life now and his thoughts and ideals. You know, his life isn't just Formula One like it was when he was younger. And it's the same with all of them. The thing is with Lewis is that, yes, he's got his other, you know, things that he, you know, his clothing, he's got his other passions, he's got his other things that he's interested in, but he doesn't have a young family, like, and all that comes with that. That can't be underestimated. I really don't think that can be underestimated because they are just people at the end of the day, and there's a lot that goes into it. There is a lot that goes into it. Thank you for the $2 Aussie, some random. But anyway, I just wanted to talk a bit about Seb. Because, yeah, nothing's going to change in that Ferrari car. I just hope that... there's an awakening of the old Sebastian Vettel when he goes to Aston Martin, because I'm confident it's there still. It's just for him to be able to unlock that. It's like Max Verstappen, incredibly talented. If he was in a big depressive slump, really struggling in himself, really lacking confidence, would he be performing as well as he is? Of course he wouldn't. Now, I'm not saying Seb is. I'm just saying that any driver, no matter how much talent you have, I've played football with guys. I've played football with guys who are unreal and could easily make it at pro level because they've got the ability, but they don't have the application, the mindset, the confidence in themselves to do it. There's a lot of things that go into it. Anyway, on to, we'll just shout out the safety car. The safety car came out. I think we were all pretty gassed and, come on, what's going to go up in here then? Ricciardo, giving Max a bit of pressure. It's the first corner, and then it just settled down, didn't it? That was listen. I'll use this opportunity to talk about Daniel Ricciardo. Actually, I'm so happy for Daniel. I love Daniel. He's my for me. It's like if I had to rank. To be fair, the two drivers I really support are Alex and Daniel. They're like my two, and then there's like Pierre, Lando. In a kind of together in like third place, you know what I mean? But yeah, I was so happy for Daniel. It's so good, and he's so he's a proper character, and we love to see it. Everyone was happy to see him there. Chuff for Renault as well. Again, do I think it was a wrong move? Not necessarily, because McLaren is still right up there, and I think McLaren ain't going away from F1 anytime soon. I'm very, very confident of that. And I think they've got great foundations there. He would have done well if he'd stayed at Renault as well. It was kind of I don't think he regrets it because they're two good options. It's always difficult to pick one over the other. But obviously he was picking during a time when Renault had a really relative poor last season. People didn't expect them to take the jump. But we'll see. He didn't do the shoey though, Daniel. Disappointed. Didn't do it. He forgot about it apparently. Look, listen. Heat of the moment. Come on. He must be chuffed. No podium since 2018. No podium for Renault since 2012. I think it was. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was 2012. His last one. But and listen, he benefited from, Daniel wouldn't have got that podium if Valtteri hadn't DNF'd, but that's racing. You can't hold that against people, you know what I mean? Other people didn't finish, 20 cars started that race, only 15 finished. That's not Daniel's fault. Puts it P3. Nice little bit of points for Renault. And De Mayo was there as well. The Renault, was it 2011? There you go. Thank you, everyone. Everyone, that's what I like. You're always very prepared to correct me when I am wrong. There you go. What do I think Cyril's tattoo will be, Paige? Yeah, I think it'll be like ankle maybe, something. And then maybe the Nürburgring map with I reckon what would be cool, right? Daniel's got that the 3 brand and the logo's like that, isn't it? It's something like that. It's 1, 2, 3 and then a circle. Something like that, I feel like I recognise that from some of his merch. I feel like it could be that with and this bit holding the Nürburgring map. Imagine the Nürburgring's here and it's just in my finger. That would be cool. But we'll see. It better deliver because there's been a lot of hype for this tattoo. So it actually better be decent, Cyril. All right, make it good. Anyway, Nico Hulkenberg. Shout out, Nico, man. It cannot be on Saturday morning. He woke up. I'm just going to watch the F1 this weekend. Ring, ring. Lance is ill, is he? Okay, I'm coming. Jumps in his Porsche, down the Autobahn. Turns up. No practice session. Jumps into qualifying. Half a second off getting into Q2. In the race, P20 to P8. That is mad. That's mad. That can't be underestimated. How impressive that is. So good. So good. So good. No one can say a bad word about that. No one can say a bad word. So good. Nico's got it. Like, of course he has. Of course it is. He's driven in F1 for a long time. Do I think, like, there's no way they'd have called up Nico if he hadn't have raced in Silverstone this year, because they already had, like, the seat fit, or they had the knowledge from that they could apply to this in terms of the seat fit, in terms of his setup, etc., to make him a bit more comfortable in the car. Because that last minute, it would have had to be a reserve driver, a Van Dorn or someone. What can I say? Like, incredibly impressive from Nico. Stayed out of trouble, just did his job, moved up the order. P8 on the day. Those constructors' points have helped him towards racing point towards third in the constructors at the minute. He's only 4 points behind Kvyat, 7 points behind Vettel in the driver standings, Hulkenberg, and he's raced 2 races. 3 races? 3 races. It's just amazing. Amazing work. Amazing work, Nico Hulkenberg. Does he deserve a seat next year? Absolutely. I think someone like a Haas would be insane not to take him. I think if the Mazepin thing happens, then it'll probably be Kvyat, because Mother Russia. But amazing. 3. Yeah, it was 3. Yeah. 3 races, 2 start. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, because he only actually raced in 2 of those races. That was so annoying for him, wasn't it? When he couldn't even start that race. That was so annoying. All right. I haven't seen really any love for Pierre online after this race. P6 in the AlphaTauri from P12 on the grid. Driver of the year so far. Do I think he should go back to Red Bull? Fuck no. Of course he shouldn't. That would be... No. No, I don't. No, I don't. But do I think he's quality? Yes. Do I think he deserves a seat in a better team? Yes. Do I think that team should be Red Bull? No. 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 Like, no. No. Pierre, I'd love to see Pierre in Renault. I'd love to see it. Obviously, I've made a video outlining why Pierre and Esteban don't get on. If you haven't watched that already, give that a watch. It did very well, that did, actually. But no, he can't be going back to Red Bull, man. But the problem is, what are the other options? You know? The thing is, the driver transfer market can work in very mysterious, wonderful ways. And hopefully, you know, with the new regulations, they can produce an AlphaTauri that is even more competitive. Because again, Pierre's dragging that team up. If AlphaTauri beat Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship, which is very, very realistic, very, very on the cards, it will be entirely because of Pierre Gasly. He's so good. He's so good. And again, this is what I mean. This is what I mean when I, you know, of course, we're going to talk about Alex again. Of course, I give Alex, you know, probably more benefit of the doubt than most people because I'm a big fan of his, right? But also, I think it is objectively true. And again, I would say this with any other driver, right? Again, let's take the situation away from Formula One. Say someone at work has got a promotion to this new role that they've created, right? And someone who got the promotion was really, really good, like really performing well, really, you know, outperforming themselves and thoroughly deserved it, got it on merit. This person, by the way, is Pierre Gasly last year at Toro Rosso at the start of the year. No, sorry, 2018, Pierre Gasly. They get promoted. And they're in this new position, and all of a sudden, all this extra pressure and all this extra like expectation and, you know, expected to deliver these even better performances at work. You know, they start to really struggle, and there's someone else in this role who's like really performing well and smashing it and like, yeah, I'm good. And then this other person is like, oh, they're really struggling, blah, blah, blah. And then they get They're there, and then they get demoted. And then another junior who's really promising and had some really good performances and did well gets promoted to that position again. And then they really struggle. If that happens again, like, do you put the blame on the drivers? Sorry, do you put the blame on the employees? Or do you put the blame on the organisation that's created this position that has facilitated two really promising people going into it, really struggling out of nowhere? And then to add to that, the person who initially got promoted and then demoted goes back to their original position and starts killing it again and being really, really, really good. And then the person who replaced him starts really, really struggling. I think it's... The problem is with what happened with Pierre is that at the time we didn't have the benefit of doubt. We didn't have the benefit that we do with Alex, is that we know this has already happened to Pierre. So when it starts happening to Alex, we're like, you give him more benefit of the doubt because you're like, well, this is exactly, it's the parallels are mad. It's exactly what happened to Pierre. So it's like, no smoke without fire. Why is this happening again? Because if someone like Sergio comes in, and to be honest, I believe that Sergio will be able to get much more out of that car than Pierre or Alex ever could. I completely believe that, fundamentally, 100%. But if he doesn't, imagine, because that could happen. That could happen. Could that not happen? Could that not happen? That could happen. That could definitely happen. Because it's happened to Vettel. Vettel's gone to Ferrari. And Vettel's way more decorated than Perez. Gone to Ferrari. But the car ain't a bit of him. He struggled with the car. And all of a sudden, Vettel's right at the back of the pack. If it can happen to Sebastian Vettel, it can happen to Sergio Perez. It can happen to anyone. I think, ultimately, we talk about, especially in this midfield, in this kind of midfield battle, the margins are so fine that being in a car that you're incredibly comfortable in versus a faster car that you're not comfortable in, you're going to do better in that car that you feel comfortable in. Much better. But we don't know. This is all just hearsay, isn't it? It's all speculation, ultimately, at the end of the day. It's all speculation. And then we've got to finish by talking about the big man. Number 91 for Lewis. I mean, I think we will look back on these years. I think a lot of people will look back on these years and think we didn't really appreciate Lewis as much as he deserves. Honestly. Because, like, the way that he's able to just get in front and then just check out. Like, there was no... You see at the end of the safety car restart, he got such a good start. He was just warming his tyres, boom, lovely, easy, job done. The guy's a joke. He's so good. He's so good. Like, talk about... people say, oh, it's just the car. Well, first of all, right, look at Valtteri's performances before he went to Mercedes. Very good in Williams. Goes to Mercedes. Very good one-lap pace, Valtteri Bottas, but Lewis just consistently has the measure of him. I've seen some people say, well, Lewis doesn't know what it's like to develop a car and build a car. Sorry, wind back to when Lewis joined Mercedes. Do you remember the news articles when Lewis joined Mercedes? He's leaving a great team in McLaren to go to this struggling midfield team in Mercedes. That's exactly what he's done. He's been part of that growth to make them the dominant team. They weren't dominant when he joined. Not at all. They weren't even... Not at all. They'd like got... I don't even know what Mercedes had got before Lewis joined. But that car was not the best car by any stretch of the imagination. But Lewis sensed that McLaren were going kind of in a downward and Mercedes were kind of going in an upward. Niki Lauda got in his ear, made that call, and fair play. I think you can't... I just think that's ludicrous to critique, because you could say that about so many of the most high... Bless you. the most well-regarded drivers of all time, you could say, oh, they're always in the best car. What, Fangio was always in the best car? Of course he was. Like, back in that era, he was in the fastest car at the time. He was in the best team, and he won all the time. You could say that about I think that's an absolute cop-out. Like, ultimately, what more? What do you expect Lewis to do? What more has he got to prove? He just wins like it's nothing. Well, he's not going to, I'm going to drive, what I'm going to do, when I stick it on pole most weekends, I'm just going to pull over to the side, let everyone go past, and I'm going to go through the back, and then still probably win. Like, what do you want him to do? Like, don't blame him for that. Like, it's just mad. It's just mad. And again, like, it's, you know, of course, the thing is, Formula One is and always has been a team sport. And we forget that sometimes. Like, the driver is a significant, because they're the one who drives the machine, but without the machine, I think it's a pretty much 50-50 split in terms of like how much of it is car and how much of it is driver. Because again, you get a great car with a very good high ceiling, like the Red Bull, and Max is up there consistently. But if the driver isn't performing like Alex, then it's going to be right down the field. And the same with Valtteri. He's got a Mercedes that should be wiping the floor with Red Bull every single weekend. But because he's not quite at that level, he's not able to get to that ceiling as consistently as Lewis is. So I think it's all just, look, some people will never give Lewis credit because it's not back in the day, it's not the driver you. But again, people growing up now watching Lewis and admiring Lewis, then when someone else comes along who's dominating as much as Lewis is, they'll be like, oh, he's never as good as Lewis Hamilton. It's just like, we're all guilty of it. It's like music was always better back in the day. The kids' TV shows I used to watch were better than any of the rubbish that comes out at the minute. You know what I mean? Oh, look, that's just part of the sport. Always has been. It's not a spec series. If you want a spec series, then Formula One ain't for you. You know what I mean? If you want a spec series where it's a much more driver-focused thing, watch F2. You know, watch F2. It's fine, but it's just is what it is with Formula One. It always has been, always will be. Hopefully, because I want it to be. But yeah, that's my thoughts anyway. But yeah, fair play, Lewis. Well played. He's got 91. He'll definitely get 92. Lewis has got to be one of the greatest of all time. Got to be one of the greatest of all time. That's my thought on it. Anyway, there we go, everyone. I'm just going to go back to the results screen. Feel free, if in the chat you want to ping me some questions. I'll stream a little bit longer, maybe like 15 minutes longer. Re-roller. The era Schumacher competed in had better drivers and closer competition. How can you say that though? Like, how can you say that with absolute fact knowledge? Like, how much we don't know how much of Schumacher's dominance was him having the best car. Probably a significant part of it. Doesn't take away from Schumacher being one of the best of all time, but with Formula One, you have to have that perfect storm of the best machinery and the best driver. Sometimes you get both, like Schumacher, like Lewis. Sometimes you get one and not the other. Sometimes you get, you know what I mean? L of the day, a bit hard. Well, someone's got to be L of the day. Alex took L of the day, unfortunately, everyone. Sad times. Just L of the day. Driver of the day, L of the day, just to clarify to everyone. Barrichello was like Bottas. Yeah, I mean, Barrichello was, I think that's pretty comparable. He got the odd win, but ultimately he was there more to support the driver at the top, and that's exactly what's happening here. I think the parallels between the Schumacher, Barrichello, and Hamilton Bottas situations are indisputable, as far as I'm concerned. Could we see Hulk and Czech reunite at Haas? I don't know. Now I've seen all the Mazepin rumours. I'm just not too sure what's going to happen at Haas. I think it's all to. I think politics. If politics comes into it, when I say politics, I mean money. Then it could be Mazepin, which would be a shame. What do I suspect for the Portuguese Portimao next, isn't it? That should be fun. I reckon Portimao's going to be mad. I reckon Portimao's going to be great. I reckon that's going to be really interesting. Brand new track. The surface, apparently I've heard the surface is a bit yikes, a bit dodgy. So we could be seeing some US Grand Prix failures like we've seen before. Clorox. And I've asked you this before, but how far will Lewis go? I think Lewis will get to 8 drivers' titles. As much as I think Red Bull have got a great chance next year, I know I said that at the start of this year. But I think once he gets 8, then I think we could be seeing Lewis retire. I think we've maybe got 2, maybe 3 more seasons of Lewis left. Depends how long it takes for him to get number 8. Just because I think Lewis has got other ambitions, other things, other passion projects he wants to work on. You know, it's like Nico left and then went into presenting and his YouTube channel and all that. I think Lewis has got a lot of other things he'd like to do. I don't see him staying in the sport into his 40s, definitely not. Usmana, Prime Vettel versus Prime Hamilton, who wins? Oh, that's I ain't answering that, man. First of all, I don't know, genuinely, because Prime Vettel, I think, is as good as Prime Hamilton. I think that's. I don't know. I really don't know. If you'd have had like, it's just one of those that I genuinely don't know. I think Lewis has kept it going for longer. Is that because he's been in a better package car for longer? Yes, but of course, if you stuck Schumacher in, you know, a rubbish car after he won his first couple of seasons at Ferrari, you know, Schumacher's dominance was as much Brawn and Todd's responsibility as it was Michael's, 100%. If he didn't have that amazing team around him, because when Schumacher joined Ferrari, they were dead in the water. Say the same about Lewis. If it wasn't for James Allison, Toto Wolff, the people in charge at Mercedes creating that great car, he wouldn't be where he is today. So I think it's exactly the same. Alonso will be happy to see Renault perform. He will. It'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing that Alpine livery. And yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see Fernando. Prime Vettel. WW18. How can you say Prime Vettel is not close to Prime Hamilton? Of course it is. Come on. Both of them were dominant at their periods. You can't say that's not going to be close. That's just ludicrous. Sorry, that's a ludicrous thing to say if you ask me. How could it not be close? That's just silly. Have I missed any super chats? Sorry if I have anyone. Because the live chat only sticks around for so long. But thank you everyone who donated. I do, honestly. I don't ask for it, but I do massively appreciate it. You're very kind. What will happen to Eilert, Oscar? Yeah, I think Eilert really should get a seat, but will he? Again, now with the Mazepin stuff and Haas saying he's not on their list. I don't know. Max Thompson, if your skills apply to a role in F1, what department would you work in? Oh, it would be like content creation, like social media, graphic design, video, all that stuff. Basically what I do now. Basically what I do here for this channel. What did I say about the gift for Hamilton from Mick? Yeah, that was really nice. That was a really nice kind of. That was a really nice sentimental moment, giving him Michael's old helmet, the old red one. Yeah, it was nice. I disagree, would not be. No, Alain Debert, I'm comparing Prime Lewis to Prime Vettel. They're going to be battling. They're going to be very close. Come on. Of course, Prime. Obviously. It's not even. I don't get it. Alex to Red Bull in 2021. I don't think so. Yeah, 4.8k to 100k. We're getting close, aren't we? Mad. That's just ridiculous. It was emotional because I just think that's a ludicrous thing to say, that they wouldn't be close. Do I think Seb will be in the top 5 of the stands in 2020? Again, if Aston Martin can give Seb a good car, then I think he'll be up there. But if they can't, then he won't. And again, that's what I mean. Like, Ferrari are not giving him a good car and he's not able to... The difference is Charles is able to push through it. Seb isn't. For whatever reason. And yes, I think Charles is given slight preference in terms of strategy and stuff. But do I think those cars are fundamentally different? No. No, I don't. I don't think them... In the same way, I don't think the Red Bulls are fundamentally different either. Like... I'm not going to use that excuse for Alex and then not use that excuse for Verstappen. I don't think for Vettel. I don't think that's the excuse for either. I think both of them are struggling for different reasons, and Charles and Max are just Charles and Max, because they're doing so well. They're really amplifying that gap. Do I think Ferrari will get back on top? I think with 2022 onwards, I think their resources at Ferrari, I think they have to. They really have to. I think if they don't, then that would just be a madness. But yeah, I think Charles and Max are just, yeah, that is... We saw it, didn't we? We saw little hints of it last year. Silverstone 2019, Charles and Max battling. Great battle that was. But yeah. Will Red Bull buy the IP for Honda engines? It's difficult. I mean... I watched a Cranky Yankee video on it, and he said that's the least likely option. And I trust Cranky because he's an incredibly intelligent human being. But I don't know. The thought of that Honda engine going to waste is very sad with all the development that's gone into it. Do Red Bull have the resource? Of course they do. Red Bull have definitely got the resource. To buy the IP for that. Would Honda be prepared to sell it? Maybe not. Maybe they would want to keep it to themselves and utilise that technology in some way for their R&D, for what they want to reprioritise the F1 resource towards. I hope they do. I think that would be great, because then that would technically be another engine on the paddock, which would be good. But yeah. That's the thing, they might not even want to sell their IP. Thank you, Rosalie, for the $5. Very kind of you, mate. Appreciate it. Thank you. The entire of Ferrari's team chemistry needs to rebuild. Call it what you say, but I think this is what you call the Schumacher's curse. Yeah, I think... I know I always make football analogies, but it's kind of like Man United, their situation. They're almost like a victim of their own success because they were so dominant under Fergie back in the day. Since he left... And you could say, like, since Ross Brawn and John Todd left Ferrari, they've really struggled to kind of, Domenicali, they had, Arriva Bene. They've had, again, it's not just one thing. I think Rush, obviously we know that there's a degree of arrogance there at Ferrari because it's Ferrari and you can't criticise a Ferrari. And I think someone like Ross Brawn probably coming in and probably, what's the words? Made a few enemies probably when he came in, but ultimately it's what you have to do to be successful. And I think Mercedes, as much as we don't like it. I don't like it when I hear Mercedes complaining that we're not actually that, or when they only finish second and third, they're like but it's like that mentality is what got them to that position in the first place, that absolute perfection or nothing else. So when that comes across, like I'm sorry, but there's no way, and I'm not criticising because I think Max did an amazing job yesterday and getting fastest lap, but the way Max and the team celebrated that, Mercedes would not have celebrated it in that way, just because that wouldn't have been as much of a big deal for Mercedes, but also because that mentality there is like, we were just on our job. If it's win, it's win or nothing. It's win or nothing. But anyway, as much as it is annoying, I agree it's annoying. But Charlie Adamo, stop waffling, mate. Answer this. No, I'm not gonna. Don't tell me to stop waffling and then answer me a question. Also, you're a Spurs fan, so no, I'm joking. I do waffle. This is the waffle part of the stream. If you want to listen to me waffle, then stick around. If you don't, then I completely appreciate and understand. And Actually, if you want to see a video on Mick Schumacher, check out Winch's channel. He did a great video on Mick Schumacher. So I feel like that one's kind of already done. You know what I mean? Jack Napier, Lando's too cringe. I like Lando. I don't think Lando's cringe. I think some Lando fans can be a bit cringe sometimes. I'm just saying. I'm not criticising it. I'm just saying, just from my personal opinion. You know when you see something online and you find it cringe, but you feel bad for finding it cringe. Like, I do hate Spurs. I'm a West Ham fan, of course I do. Do I play FIFA? No, I don't. That would just make me angry. LCG, GSP out. Oh, you've started good. Started good there. That's how you get my attention. GSP out. Give you out. Albon and Gasly to AlphaTauri. Perez in the second Red Bull. Hulk and Arlott in the Haas. Schumacher and Kimi. I mean, that's literally exactly how I think it should go. So, our minds are aligning there, LCG. I'm West Ham. That's my team. Lando is Lando. I don't think Lando's cringy. I don't see anything that Lando's just. I don't think Lando's cringy at all. Where did Bottas lose this year's title? I don't think he ever had it. Like, okay, maybe like first race, but when will Stroll quit? Oh, I think we've got Stroll in F1 for a long, long time. Kilby, he's very young. He's still only 21. Don't forget that. Still only 21. When you consider that, I think Stroll's going to be around for a long time. Of course, Daddy's cash. Lance Stroll with Daddy's cash money. Will Eilert go to Haas? Yeah, again, I hope Eilert gets a seat. He deserves it more than Mazepin, but Mazepin money. Do I think West Ham will be relegated? No, I think we'll be all right this year. I think we'll be all right this year. If Albon would be replaced, when would they announce it? I don't think. If Red Bull choose not to go with Alex, I still think they'll stick with him for this year, because the problem with Pierre is that I think there's two reasons, right, why Pierre got dropped. I think. Oh wow, thank you, Eric, for the 50 check. I'm not sure, but I agree. I think he's very proven. Yeah, sure, he's made mistakes, of course. I think a lot of that is because of the pressure, but he still had some great results. You know, he should have won. He should have 3 podiums, 2 taken from him through no fault of his own. Yeah, I think he's doing it. Thank you for the donation, mate. I appreciate it. Yeah, I think there's two main reasons that Pierre got dropped mid-season, and I don't think Alex will this year, right? So first reason is that when they dropped Pierre, that gave them the opportunity to try out Alex for the rest of that season and see how he performed. And he did perform better than Pierre had done for the rest of that season. 100% objective. He definitely did. Alex came in and did a better job than Pierre had done when he'd left. But Alex was coming in with a lot of confidence. Pierre was leaving with no confidence. So I think that's a big part of why there was that discrepancy there. It gave Red Bull the opportunity and the chance to try out another junior driver they've got. In the current situation, they already know how Pierre's performed in the Red Bull. They already know how Kvyat's performed in the Red Bull. Because again, no, what am I saying? I say this, but they demoted Kvyat as well. So it's like Kvyat struggled against Verstappen. Pierre has, and now Alex has. So it's 3 times actually. But you know what I mean? Like, so there's that. So now Red Bull, they already have data, information. It's impossible to say if Pierre came back, if he'd perform as well as he's in the AlphaTauri. I think he's got it in him, but I don't think he would, because I just think that car's too geared towards Max, in my opinion, but I don't know that to be true. So there's that. So there's not that same, not pressure, but there's not that same availability of a driver that they haven't tested yet in a Red Bull to come in. But also, because Pierre was racing in a season when Ferrari were right up there, there's not that same constructors' pressure on Red Bull to make that move. Because I think, to be fair, if there was another team right on Red Bull's heels, I think they would definitely consider swapping out Alex mid-season to try and make sure that they get that constructors finish. But because that isn't a thing, then I don't think that'll be a thing. Also, one point I want to make about Vettel, which is a positive, is that the fact that Nico's been able to come into that racing point and get in and get up to speed with it very quickly is a good sign for Vettel that is a very drivable car. Because I don't think if the situation was Nico jumping in and replacing Alex at Red Bull, if Alex was sick or if Max was sick, I don't think Nico would have performed as well as he has done, if you know what I mean, because I feel like that Racing Point as a package is a less edgy car to drive and a less, you know what I mean? I feel like you know what I mean. All of you, every single one of you, 1,200 people. Anyway. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Yom, for the €5. You heard about what the rest from Rosberg were discussing about Pierre on Sky F1? No, I didn't. What were they discussing? Let me know in chat. Let me know. Let me know in chat. I don't know. I don't know what was said. I've just read it. I'm sorry. I was waffling. Pierre won't happen because he annoyed a lot of people there for some reason. Okay. Pierre annoyed people at Red Bull. That's news to me. Can anyone elaborate in the chat? Words with Nui. I wonder where that information came from, though. Pierre annoying Red Bull. But again, I don't think that's a mutually... I don't think that's a situation... Like, Red Bull don't want to, like, go back on themselves in a situation like that. And I don't think that's a good move for Pierre either. Yeah, I haven't heard about that, but... He said to Nui how to design the car better. Surely not. Nah, come on. Well, listen, like, Pierre will 100% be in F1 next year. Surely. There's so many good drivers as well. There's so many good drivers. We need a couple of more teams to open up some more seats. I don't think Tsunoda to AlphaTauri is going to happen now. I don't think it's going to happen now. Combination of factors. I think the Honda, there's not going to be as much of a Honda pull to bring him in. I think Tsunoda's my favourite F2 driver. As much as I'd like to see him in F1, I think maybe give him another season in F2. Let things settle down amongst the Red Bull AlphaTauri situation and then see where he slots in. There's so much hearsay, isn't there? Hey, Tom97's here. Good to see you, pal. How you doing? I'm just about to wrap this up, actually, mate. You're always late. Anyway, yes, I'm going to finish now, people, because I've got some work to do. So, thank you, everyone, for tuning in, taking the time. Hour 25. Long one today. But it was good. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I can't believe there's still over 1,000 of you here. Crazy people. But yeah, I'm going to call it a day. So thank you everyone for watching. Again, no race this weekend, so I want to get a video out. I've already got everything planned out for the video that's going to go out either Wednesday or Thursday. Not sure yet. We'll keep you up to date. But yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in. Appreciate you all taking the time. Be good to each other. Be nice. Be friendly. Be happy. Be safe as well with COVID and all that nonsense that's going on at the minute. And yeah, thank you to everyone who donated as well. You're a lot far too kind, honestly. But yeah, take care. Have a good one. Cheerio. Adios.